Rasta youth. So Aina is currently working for Reform the United Nations now as a country coordinator and a country lead, and I also help with some research. So RUNN is formed to reform the Security Council. The United Nations has a Security Council. The Security Council is made out of 5 countries that control the Security Council, and that's so they dominate the world, they dominate the people of the world, they dominate the poor nations of the world. Those 5 countries are China, Russia, America, France, and the UK. So I as community workers, as grassroots workers, as diplomats, as people of I government, as statesmen of our governments, our grassroots governments, of our orders, and of our royal courts, as we know who we are. We have to continue to do the work to change the world, whether it's through charity that we do in the community, or whether it's through diplomatic works or non-profit work or welfare work. So RUNN in South Africa, currently we have 3 main aspects that we focus on, which is lobbying, youth empowerment, youth development, and research education, educational aspects in research. So first and foremost, with the lobbying is by us engaging with other groups, politicians, other people that also, because everyone wants to see the UN Security Council reform. All powerful world leaders, India, Brazil, everyone wants to see. Africa, Ghana the other day, now at the United Nations General Assembly, also said the Security Council needs to reform. Ethiopia also told them Africa needs a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. So that is the work of RUNN. But it's not easy work. It's not work that is instant gratification. It's generational work. The same that His Majesty, he was lay foundations in the Ethiopian society and in the African society that has benefited generations, 3-4 generations after those foundations were set. So the same with these types of works, we know. So first and foremost, with the youth empowerment, youth development aspect of things, we have hosted programs like the Ashley Krill inaugural commemoration, whereby we empower artists, we empower young creatives through affording them for the value that they bring to the stage, and that's also us empowering communities. I think let's say Adwa as well, the Adwa march, that parade that has been happening for the past 8 years. So RUNN has also been assisting with some of the logistics and also some of the empowerment of artists, because there's usually 2 parts. You have the parade, and then you also have the live show, or the reggae event, the reggae show, which has been happening at Ras Center for the past 2 years. Other times it has happened in the parking lot. So there's always the need for resources to do those types of works. Then with regards to, so that is the youth empowerment, youth development. Then with regards to our research, we've been producing documents, we've been producing lectures, we've been producing online webinars with certain think tanks to get knowledge into communities, to get knowledge into our activists, so that they can understand what is needed to actually do socio-economic development, to create jobs, to create opportunities, to create a better quality of life for one and all. That is what was I saying? The educational aspect of it. Then I have the lobbying, the research. That's the research educational aspect. I also have to produce some documents from time to time. Like even now, I must go check what happened at the United Nations General Assembly. I must get some of the comments of certain of the presidents, and I must produce a document so that it can be spread out. So, and then with last we have the lobby. I said the lobbying, the youth empowerment, and the research. So that's the three aspects that we are dealing with. Lobbying is us going to other groups, other NGOs, other people, so that we can create networks, so that we can push for this thing. RUNN has chapters in the UK, RUNN has chapters in New Mexico, California, Germany, and Spain, and it's continuing to expand. South Africa RUNN launched last year at UWC. Some of our speakers were, one of the most prominent speakers was Marius Fransman, who was the former Deputy Minister for the Department of International Cooperation, our International Relations or Foreign Ministry. And then we also had another scholar, Ibis Kasa, but that was last year. Going forward, I know we'll be having more events. This program of screening my grandpa is an emperor is also a part of our educational and research aspect of RUNN, because RUNN, like other NGOs, like Mandela's NGOs, Gandhi NGOs, whoever NGOs, they will tell you they focus on the ideals and the vision and the mission of that icon. So the same with RUNN, we forward with the vision and the ideals His Majesty had for the United Nations. And if I go study the speeches of His Majesty say, yeah, the UN is a glass building, you know, it is the powerful can abuse it, but it is here for the powerless, you know. And we will also understand that the UN was formed just prior to the colonial nations being decolonized, and only after the nations of the global South Africa, Asia, Latin America was decolonized from European control and whatever control, did they actually join the United Nations. So there's that inequality within the United Nations, and there's constantly that diplomatic fight for righteousness, for proper systems within the UN as well. And I must remain optimistic, and I must remain within prophecy, as we know our Godhead and the vision of our Godhead, you know, from that time until this time, you know, and we keep strong in all the battles that we face. So that is just the introduction of RUNN. RUNN works with Hume Society. Hume Society is a student organization at UWC. It's been existing for what, over 10 years or something like that. There's currently another strong leadership. After me, strong leadership came in, and they've consistently also just been hosting programs, and they are also a strong partner to RUNN. Hence, when we partner with them, we are able to get certain resources from the university, like the venues, you know. We also hosted the first screening of My Grandpa is an Emperor in collaboration with Hume Society. And going forward, we plan to host more programs. We plan to host a workshop in November to celebrate our first year anniversary as RUNN South Africa, seeing that we launched last year on the 12th of November. We also plan to host a screening in Oudtshoorn with Grip. Grip is trying to organize the venue on the 2nd of November. Yeah, that is the current program for this year. Next year, we will be taking on aspects of Adwa. The Adwa March has morphed from a march and a protest into a parade, you know, because it's part of heritage. It's part of customs and traditions, royal traditions, memory. And memory is important in heritage, because if you don't recollect your memory and if you don't remember to remember, then you forget your roots, you forget where you come from, you forget your warriorhood, you forget the battle, you forget the victory, you forget the mission. So this time, I believe it's very important to realign the roots and to pull a line for the youths, because we know the level of freedom and the level of aloofness and the level of disorder that is currently functioning within Rastafari, which is something, you know, that we all grapple with. So in 2025, we plan to host something around the Scramble for Africa. The Scramble for Africa, Leopold, they got together, hosted a conference in Belgium, in 1884 till 1885, February 1885, and they basically cut up Africa. You know, they call it the Berlin Conference. So Germany, England, Italy, all of them went there to Belgium under King Leopold, and they said, no, I want this side of Africa. That's why Congo was known as Free State, Belgium Free State. You know, Italy was take over some parts of Libya, they was take over some parts of Djibouti and Somalia, they tried to come into Ethiopia. Germany was take over parts of Namibia, France was take over parts of West Africa, and the English was take some parts of East Africa, Ghana, Kenya, they come to South Africa, etc. But South Africa, they've been colonizing since before the Berlin Conference, because Napoleon was do the war and he conquer Amsterdam, and then the English had to make sure they capture the Cape. I think it's 1860 something, 1861, you know. And as South Africa, we were only given independence from the English actually in 1961, you know, but we don't celebrate independence because we were still under apartheid, which was also a form of colonization, you know. But then the Afrikaners left the Commonwealth, which was the empire, but then the ANC joined the empire again. They joined the Commonwealth again. They joined the Queen's Order again. So there's also heavy mysteries and science around those things. But I continue the fight from the grassroots. So that is some of the works that we will be continuing. And it's focusing on the youths and focusing on changing the world. So that is the mission of Reform the United Nations. Now I'm just going to read the objectives, then I'm going to be done. To highlight local and international issues that are interlinked and affected by the United Nations and the decisions that are made, to encourage interest in the United Nations, in the specific agenda to reform the United Nations and to repeal the vote of the powerful of the UN Security Council, because there's the veto vote. So we want to remove the veto vote. Even if you're on the Security Council and you're a permanent member, you mustn't be able to veto when there's something that must be done to stop a certain war, to stop a certain conflict. But now, like with the Ukraine and the Russia, I don't have a side there, but what Russia did is they vetoed. You know, the other nations wanted to intervene within Ukraine and Russia vetoed it. So that means the other nations couldn't send their armies to basically intervene within Ukraine. To encourage leaders, activists and governments through hard and soft power, that the responsibility of reforming the United Nations is an urgent matter that governments and people need to push as a platform. So that is where global inequality happens, from the Security Council to the IMF, to the International Criminal Court, to the World Bank. So it's not just the Security Council that needs to be reformed, it's all of those organizations that needs to be reformed. And that's why young people, you know, our youths, our fourth and our fifth and our sixth generation must ensure they have the skills, whether it's technical skills, vocational skills, academic skills, entrepreneurial skills. But it's important that we gather the intellectual resources and the financial resources within our community, within Pan-African capital, within Rastafari capital, so that we can send out our warriors, you know, with equipment. You know, like the youths here, and there's fighting for free education, there's NSFAS, there's bursaries. So, and I mustn't fret from getting the skills to change the world, you know, because that is also what His Majesty, the Minister of Education, was emphasized all the time, you know. For us to develop our Ethiopia, for us to industrialize Ethiopia, we need to ensure we have the engineers, the teachers, whoever, so that this can happen. Yes, that is the